October 22nd. Fancy meeting you here. Grab a coffee and let's talk about a realistic utopia of a fair society. When you call for peace is for real. This is what you must set out to create, a fair society. So let's get to work. There exist many ideas how to organize society best. Socialism, classical liberalism, libertarianism, conservatism, and so many more. Ideologies. To engage in a pet peeve of mine, dealing only with the economy and not the whole of society, capitalism is not one of the ideology and is therefore not the opposite of socialism. The dataset representing capitalism can become part of the dataset of any ideology, even socialism, because the dataset of the ideology determines any and all cooperation of the members of society in the market and beyond. Remember, cooperation is only possible when all members of society align their individual generated models of the world to create common ground from which they can formulate common goals. Alignment happens when all members replace part of the information that they would usually use in the self-generation of a model of a world that best secures their survival with a dataset that is shared by all members. This creates a dependency on the group's cooperation for survival, something the individual could achieve alone before, without all the hassle of cooperation and aligning their individual models, and so on. The shared dataset, the ideology governing the cooperation, must address exactly this situation. Why should we prefer Rawls Egalitarian Liberalism above all the others? Because his starting point to solve this situation is fairness. He insists that society should be organized according to principles that all citizens can accept. And face it, that's the only way to think about it, because all members initially must put themselves into what looks like worse circumstances when they could be in to enable the cooperation, circumstances that aren't what they could be to ensure their survival. It's either creating acceptance in every member by the way you develop the dataset everyone shares by finding compromise to make up for that, or you must resort to coercion and force to enforce the use of the same dataset by all members, because without alignment, no cooperation. Whenever people insist that cooperation, society, necessarily needs hierarchy and enforcement structures, therefore, they admit that the dataset this society runs on is unacceptable to at least some members, that it forces these members to put themselves into worse circumstances than they could create for themselves by not cooperating, without giving them at least as a result what motivated every member of a group to seek cooperation in the first place. Without force, the only way to identify fair terms for living together and cooperating is to look for principles that we can agree to among ourselves willingly. These principles must result at the minimum in every member of a group being provided with an increased ability to execute random searches. Something an individual is unable to do alone, but that promises the highest payoff. What are such things, such random searches? The ability to discover, develop, and apply one's natural skills and abilities throughout life. The ability to try themselves out, even if it leads to failure. The ability to explore one's surroundings without a specific goal in mind. The ability to lean into the unknown for the sole purpose that it becomes known. Rawls doesn't deliver a concrete answer to every bit of a dataset. He came up with a structure, a hypothetical, to determine an ideally fair situation in which we can imagine citizens coming to a fair social contract, the original position. The work is ours to do. in every moment, because with any new information gathered, what's the goal of cooperation in the end? Our models of the world change, and we must thus adjust the shared data set to fit it to the new circumstances. So when you have any thoughts, tell me, tell all. But when making demands, keep the original position in mind. What everyone sacrifices to make cooperation possible, and what motivates us all to do so. Well, that's all for today. I'll be back tonight with a TikTok live. You're cordially invited to my kitchen where I'm prepping dinner and talking about just that. And if that's not your cup of tea, I'll be back with another video, hopefully tomorrow, if nothing happens in between. Talking about a realistic utopia of a fair society and Rawls. And as always, you can find all the transcripts of my video on my blog Hyperobject Mind, link in my bio. I hope to meet you again. Until then, bye.